People's Platform.
A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of the People's Platform, where we engage in conversations that matter to you and how Sri Lanka can be developed with various luminaries in our studios on each episode. And tonight we have with us in our studios Dr. Nimmi Menike, Senior Lecturer, Department of Language Studies, Open University of Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Doctor, for accepting our invitation and coming aboard and having an insightful conversation with us this evening.
Thank you.
So let's get the ball rolling, Dr. Menike, on Sri Lanka. What we are facing now, the general public of Sri Lanka, it seems to be in dire straits. The general public are suffering, the masses are suffering, the middle class and those below the poverty line. It's a constant struggle for Sri Lankans and has been for many decades now. And this economic crisis that we face has only exacerbated the woes of our population. And with the increase in taxes, particularly the payee taxes, and then afterwards the VAT that will come into effect next year, this is going to take a very big hit on the spending power of the people, the power they have to spend on entertainment, the power they have to spend on luxuries, and so on. So can you just, as an entrance to our conversation tonight, brief me on how all of these issues are going to impact the quality of life of the Sri Lankan population, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you for taking up this matter, which is right on time. Yes, I think the newly proposed VAT and then already existing pay tax. So these have been affecting not just one or two aspects. So it is like affecting each aspect of everybody's life. So therefore what I say now is quality of life, let alone the quality, even the survival itself, it has become a very big problem. In which case now in turn it is going to affect, it has already affected. So we have on one side we have anemic, malnutritious children and then adults on one side. On the other side, a lot of bribery and corruption, as we have been. It seems like we are heading towards rather dark zone when compared to what we have already been experiencing. So earlier we thought we have already hit the rock bottom when it comes to the financial crisis and the whole collapse of the system. But now it seems we are yet to see that rock bottom, and even we don't know now where we are going. Actually, it is like so dark, and we don't know even when we will get to see the light. So what I'm trying to say is that now it is not just about just one tax. We are rather double taxed. We will be double taxed, in which case people won't be able to get let alone 3 meals. Now they have already settled for 2 meals, but now I think it is even going to be a distant possibility. Rather now people will go on surviving with water and maybe tea, and then just minor existences, I should say. So therefore I think it's very sad now where we are leading to, and unless we really take a call as citizens of the country, that too in a responsible way, not just emotionally getting carried away with whatever the trends coming in. We just have to be very, very determined to take the next step. So yeah, so it is as of now, and then what it is going to be, it looks very gloomy and very alarming
situation. So talking about rock bottom, you said that we thought that was rock bottom when we hit it, but we don't know. We later came to realize that this is not rock bottom, and there is more pressure and displeasure among the masses now. How will this affect our future generation, the children who are studying in schools, in universities, that are waiting to take over the reins to the country, and with their parents struggling and suffering so much, they will also clearly and definitely be impacted by this. How will that take a toll on the children of our country, ma'am?
So now we have been reading on newspapers as well as we can hear now. There have been a lot of several reforms towards education sector have been already made, and they would be they would be operative since next year. But now my question, which I have been asking from myself, like, to whom we are going to to whom we are going to give those reforms
to implement those reforms,
and who will be benefited from that?
Okay.
Because now if these things are, if these reforms are directed towards certain future to be invented by the involvement of next younger generation, so my question is, do we have a generation on whom now we can actually
impart that knowledge on?
Exactly, because now the problem is, it is not just university and school level, it is also, let's go down, like further down, like starting from early childhood and then the kindergartens, and what are they going to get? How can they even think of going to a school, or let's say a Montessori even? Because see, if you do not get to eat proper nutritious food as a child, definitely the impact will be on your own brain development.
Yes.
So lack of protein, lack of iron, lack of many other vitamins will definitely affect children's growth,
mentally, physically.
And today somewhere in the news I also saw that now some of there has been a research done which was reported on one of those news sites, saying that the growth of children in terms of their physics it has come down. Now they are kind of growing shorter and shorter. So if that is true, since it is a news, so I don't know how authentic that is, but if that is true, which is also a possibility, because of this, we
the
think
rising
now
cost of living
people are not able to afford to get
nutritious
the food back.
meals.
So if
or
they
even
want
afford 3 meals a day.
yes, because it is obvious people do not get to eat what they want to eat, though they like we have been a country with so many other sources to survive,
and we have always been agriculturally very sufficient
and self-sustained, so to speak. But now let alone that self-sustained mode now that we have somehow let go of consciously and unconsciously. But the problem is now though we have ocean around the island, we don't have fish, so that belongs to someone else now. So our resources are already being exploited by many outsiders, and therefore we don't even get that access to any of these resources, due to which, well, when I say that, there are some who definitely get access to. They also, the being inlanders also, they have been exploiting these resources. Now that is just handful of people who happen to be somehow also the ones probably in parliament, So it appears to me now what we are going through is actually not what we have made single-handedly. Rather, this is a condition that we are made to suffer by force. It is not that we consented. Yes, we must have casted our precious votes, which we do not even understand, by saying yes to someone or something. But then, without realizing what we were doing, we have done, which is our mistake. Now it is the time to correct it. But meanwhile, what is happening is like it is already a dilapidated country, right? So now what we are doing is we are rather playing with the next generation, because now we have already been played upon. So we are kind of already struggling. But now what is at risk is not our lives, rather
future of the next generation.
Future of the next generation, therefore future of the country.
Right.
Because this country, because of this whole weakness now that we are going to be pregnant with, definitely there will be many other invaders who come in the disguise of some other forms. So there will be different kinds of invasions to which we will have no say against.
So you brought up a very interesting topic in your explanation, Doctor. You said that the social gap in the country is very wide. Those who have it all. Those who don't have it, don't have anything at all. And this is something that Sri Lanka has been grappling with for a very long time. And the number of people who are below the poverty line increased by several folds after the Sri Lankan economic crisis struck. What can the authorities do to bridge this gap, to make sure that every single citizen in this country have an equal income, they have equal access to resources? Of course, we can't have an egalitarian society where everyone earns the same income and where they have access to luxuries in similar ways. But what we can do is bridge that gap, make sure that even the most impoverished segments of society have at least the access they need to basic resources, commodities, and so on. So how can the authorities play a part in bridging this gap, Doctor?
Yeah, I think when we say authorities, as of now what we see, and then so for last many years, even since independence, we have seen seen what they have been doing. And I don't know what more they can do, because on papers, on media, they have been so promising, and with those promises they have been able to take us along with their words.
Yes.
But these have been now so fake, to be honest, right? So therefore I don't think now authorities, what they can do, they have been already doing, and now they have been using power. Now it also has come to a point of, it's like it has always been abuse of power, and therefore violence of different kinds. But now I think when it comes to, somebody in power could say, well, we are going to increase salaries of so and so people, it could be government sector, it could be private sector. Now my question is, so what will happen to those who are neither government sector workers, no from private sector, like farmers
or SMEs,
anybody beyond these totalized or totalities,
agents.
So what will happen to them? Are they going to get a monthly salary, or are they going to go to a shop and say that, look, please give me my groceries and rations, I'll pay you from my whatever next income? They don't have. So now is there a policy, is there a strong policy going to work in favor of these segments of the society, which is not there? So if you say that we are going to implement some 5,000 scheme for all these people, what are you going to do with 5,000? Because in any case there is a huge hike when it comes to the prices of all goods and services. In that case, what are you going to do with 5,000 rupees? So this gap doesn't seem to be getting bridged in the way we want, let alone the way we want, at least marginally, marginally. There should be some ray of hope, which doesn't
seem to be
materializing at present. If we are going to go with the kind of reforms that are going to work from 2024 onwards.
Right. We are in conversation with Dr. Nimmi Menike, Senior Lecturer, Department of Language Studies, Open University of Sri Lanka. We will cross over for a short commercial break. Stay tuned to the People's Platform.
People's Platform.
Gypsies live in concert with Sirasa TV, where music meets the spirit of the season. Christmas with Gypsies. Back after 25 years to Vihara Mahadevi Open Air. Sirasa Flashtown 23 Gypsies live in concert. Featuring BNS, Hana and Nadima. Get your tickets now. Media sponsors Sirasa TV and TV1.
Taru Payne discounts. Enjoy up to 30% off on frames and sunglasses this Christmas with Vikramarachi Opticians.
TV1. TV for life.
Who is supplying Sri Lankan youth to terrorists operating in Myanmar? Over 2,200 suspects arrested in 24 hours as Yuktiya operation cracks down on drugs and the underworld. PASL and Colombo High Court lawyers condemn the statement by the Public Security Minister on lawyers. Mahinda Rajapaksa says, though the SLPP is part of the government, the head of state is following a different policy. Is Dhammika Pereira the SLPP's next presidential candidate?
TV1. TV for life.
The People's Platform.
Welcome back to the People's Platform. We are in conversation with Dr. Nimmi Menike, Senior Lecturer, Department of Language Studies, Open University of Sri Lanka. Doctor, let's talk about emotions. Sri Lankans have been historically known and are still known as a very hospitable nation who are sympathetic, who are empathetic, and you will always find a smiling face on the street. You will always have help on the street if you are ever in trouble. But I personally believe, and I'm sure you and our viewers will also agree, that this has been taken advantage of over the years by policymakers, politicians, especially when it comes to election season. Sri Lankans are made to ride on a wave of emotion when they go to the polling booth to cast their votes, and that has led to the destruction of our economy, of our country for many decades now. How important is it for Sri Lankans to finally break that chain of acting on your emotions and instead being mindful of the decisions you make in terms of voting in your elected representatives, in terms of shaping the future of our country, and so on?
Yeah, I think it's very important because emotions are okay. Emotions are fine and one has to be emotional. But now when you going to live only with these emotions as a pack of emotions, what we are going to do is we are easily run into extremes. So that also has been behind all kinds of violence happening in the country.
Yes.
So, but let's not go to that side. So I think now we are more or less nearing certain elections soon, and we can already we can see now same practices and rituals are on the way. So now the question is why one would be emotionally carried away, and how come one forget what one has been going through for last many years. So one can definitely one can forget anything else, but how can one forget one's own hunger,
personal
experience, and how can one forget that somebody is just no more with you because of somebody else's because of somebody's irresponsible actions with vested interests. So therefore now, so are you going to forget all these? So isn't forgetfulness a part of these emotions, or vice versa? So this is a real question that we need to address, because this is also multifaceted and multidirectional.
Right.
But having said that, now we see, since it is election time, so definitely our this is a problem not just in Sri Lanka. This is also a problem in entire South Asian region. It is easy for politicians to exploit the very simplicity or that very empathetic nature of Sri Lankan citizens.
Right.
It is now taken for granted, right? And that very innocence, that very simplicity has been exploited by these cunning, I will be happy to use that word, cunning politicians. So that's why we see suddenly they give some 5,000 rupees or say even 10,000 rupees allowance, and then one politician just can walk just among the public and dandle a child and say something and then click a photo, and this
everything is forgotten.
Everything is forgotten, and yes, the politician sat with me and took a photo and all that. So
they are forgiven.
They are forgiven. But this is not a question even to do with forgiveness. This is to do with what you do with the power that you have as a citizen to change the system. Now that we had Aragalaya, and what we wanted was something like a system change. But then, is the system change going to happen only by changing the regimes?
The faces in parliament.
Yeah. It is one side of the story. On the other side, it is also a responsibility of the citizens of this country that they should actually know what they want to do with their lives. So there we see, as you rightly said, these emotionally driven people could be easily picked up by some religious groups or some political parties or some gendered the groups centered on gendered and narratives and things like that, and then start
ethnic conflicts
and then religious conflicts and things like that. So the country has been witnessing this for more than 70 years.
It's been a trend, but it's been a trend that we have still been unable to break, isn't it?
Well, yes and no, because it has been a trend, but at the same time, so this has been the major discourse, right? But there are also parallel discourses running.
Right.
So it's just that we are not, some of us are not ready to recognize those parallel discourses which are equally powerful and, forceful, also rather humanitarian.
Right.
It is just that we are not ready to be informed. Which also means that are we really ready to break these totalities that we have or closures that we have built against some other and also built on behalf and for someone else, or someone, something, right? Are we ready to break that? There we see there are instances where we are ready to break, right? So when it comes to this, like this Aragalaya happened to be that moment. All these closures that we have otherwise made against each other were broken.
They were dispelled and people came together.
People came together and they were united. They got united just to bring something different, because everybody was suffering. It is not just a matter of
low in the rural areas
class
or the low income earners, but even those in high places.
Exactly, everybody came.
Since
society. It became everybody's struggle, it had an impact. It had an very strong message, not just to the country but also to outside. But now that age is seemingly going away, fading away. So people don't see those lines where people had to wait for fuel, gas, even medicines and things like that. So things look like things are okay.
Back to normal.
So I have heard, even these some of the government servants saying, why can't we just have exams now in centers? We can just bring them to Colombo or wherever that we want, because now transport is on and everybody can easily reach. But then, do we really understand? Do we really think that how would one travel from Jaffna to Colombo or vice versa just by spending 2,000 rupees or 3,000 rupees?
Yes.
And how will now even the number of, as you rightly put at the beginning, number of students though they get selected to universities, they are not able to join the programs that they wanted to. You know,
Yes.
those were their dreams. But finally, now when we go through certain, statistics, like in our own university, like today, what we were discussing is also to do with some regional center did not have students to sit, write the exam, and that happened to be a Badulla, a very rural area, but ironically hit by a lot of tourists. So what are we going to do with tourism then? Are we using it for somebody else's betterment, or are we going to use it for everybody's betterment, including the ones from the very area which is being exploited by these tourists or local or international? It doesn't matter. So Badulla, Nuvarele is, these are the places,
Tourist hotspots, yes.
Yeah, but then what do we do with these the incomes that we get from those sources? Have we been able to use them for the very area? And then there are the children coming from that area. So we have very less number of people, I should say, less number of students coming from those areas.
Who complete their education.
Who complete their education even when they did not have access to private, classes, like tuition classes. So basically these people are from, these communities like,
the estate communities.
Estate communities, yeah. So they are deprived of their own rights otherwise. So somewhere it is not like we don't seem to be far from those crimes against humanity.
Right.
I think we are there now. Whatever we get to see today in Sri Lanka are, somewhere taking us to that end.
So you believe that we are bordering on crimes against humanity here in Sri Lanka?
We are. It is a matter of accepting and acknowledging and being ready to redefine
and to have those tough conversations.
We need to question. So if we want to think what we should do as citizens, it is high time that citizens not just go and start questioning without even having valid data. I think it's important if you want to defend a case. You definitely need to have like authentic
access
sources
to data, yes.
But along with that, for that also one has right for information. So by following those tracks, not just going and saying something on Facebook. I mean, how much can you do on Facebook?
How much of an influence can you make?
Yeah, after all, these are also not so authentic, right? So therefore I think it is high time now, as Sri Lankans whose literacy rate on at least on records is high, as a country we have a higher literacy rate in South Asia. So if we are literate enough to celebrate that we are literate, we really need to know what we do with the knowledge that we have got. And there comes the question whether we are ready to question the very authority which says that we want to care for you, therefore let us care for you, let us treat you with these schemes. So are you ready to take them and step back and therefore withdraw your force, otherwise which we can use to change entire system, or are we going to question? So I think starting from policymakers and advisors and consultants to those high posts, they should start from their level. Bribery and corruption is not just something done only by politicians. All these
it has infested most structures.
All the layers, starting from top to bottom, are equally corrupted and equally bribable, only if the very person with that power is ready to take a different turn and then see whether he or she is ready to actually care for the nation
and make a change.
That is where we can think of bridging whatever the gaps otherwise we have created.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nimmi Menike, Senior Lecturer, Department of Language Studies, Open University of Sri Lanka, for joining me and having a very candid conversation on what the tough questions Sri Lankans must ask for our society and the country as a whole to move to the next level and move away from all the crises that we have been facing. Thank you once again for joining me this evening.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was on the People's Platform for tonight. Have a great night and take care.